Okay.
Or try to anyway. There we go. So good evening, everyone, and welcome to Friday Nights with UVZ and Friends. Tonight we've really got a fantastic panel. I'm really excited to have the guests in studio. When I say in studio, it's obviously a virtual studio. So tonight we've got Joe from Mad Hatter Motorcycle Adventures. We've got Kev from Krazyhorse, and we've got the main man Dazzle Rebel Rides, the motorcycle world, and HBC Motorcycles as well. So guys, listen, thank you very much for taking the time to come and have a chat with us. Really appreciate it. You know, I think everyone's going through a bit of strange times at the moment, and you know, it's nice that you guys can take the time to have a chat with us and talk a little bit of bikes. So just obviously a bit of an introduction about yourselves. Kev, tell us a little bit about how you got into bikes. I know you've got a good old history. I've had a chat with you before, some interesting bits, and how you ended up finding yourself getting into Indian motorcycles.
Basically, been working on bikes since I was around about 13-ish. One of my neighbours used to import Harleys in pieces, and we used to build them up and work. In more recent years, various stuff for manufacturers, as well as having my own custom shop for a number of years. Dabbled a bit in older Indians, but it's only in more recent times, being with Krazyhorse, that I'm involved with the sort of current strain of Indian, as it were.
Yeah. So how long have you been with Krazyhorse now?
I only took over the farmhouse in December.
Okay.
Obviously, the farmhouse is a relatively new part of the Krazyhorse business. But I've known Paul, the owner, for a number of years. Used to compete against him in the old AMD World Bike Building Championships and all that business, you know.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. Daz, man, thanks for joining me. You know, and also I've got to say thank you for having me as part of the Indian motorcycle world, which you set up. It's a really great initiative. Perhaps if obviously you just want to give us a little bit of introduction about your love for motorcycles and also how you came up with the idea for Indian motorcycle world.
Yeah, basically, I mean, I've always been into bikes because I come from a family who've always been into bikes. I was 27 by the time I got my license, though.
Yeah.
So relatively bit down the road, really. I mean, I should have done it when I was 17, but you know, things got in the way.
Yeah.
So once I got the buzz for actually going out biking, that was it. It just took over, and I've always liked Indians. Always. Even I had a book when I was a kid, about 9-10 years old. Got sent this, given this book off my nan, which was all old Indians. And ever since then, I've been.
Yeah.
It's been my brand. You know, it's been the brand that I've loved.
Yeah.
So I've got one. I started working at HBC Motorcycles in December 2014, and by February 2015, so 2 months into working there, I've got myself my cheap vintage, and love it, absolutely love it.
Nice. Yeah, I've got a picture which I'll put up in a bit. Thanks, Daz. Joe, so you're the motorcycle tour guy, and yeah, I've met you fairly recently at a couple of shows after having been chatting online. Give us a little bit of an intro as to what you were doing and how you guys are getting along at the moment.
Yeah, well, it's tough actually right now because our entire year has basically been put on hold, which is a bit of a bummer, clearly. And we've been working pretty hard. We started back in early 2018, and really it was sort of it was all about doing motorcycle tours how we like to do motorcycle tours, and that is really our sort of USP. Effectively, is to keep numbers small. So we will do tours of 4 people, or we have a maximum of 8, be that pillions or riders or whatever. So we just find in all our years of riding bikes, and I've been riding since I was 16. that's the best way to do it, with a small group of mates, and away you go, and it's just kind of a better experience for all. So we thought of translate that. A lot of our competitors, I mean, it's a small world, and we're all friends, so it's not really a competitive thing. There's lots of room in the market, I guess, but we find that a lot of people sort of have upwards of 10, 15, 20 bikes on a tour, and that's hard to manage, and it's hard to get everybody to gel properly. So that's why we have kept it tight. We have a sort of we have I was a Harley man. I still am a Harley man, but I've also got Indians. So we're very privileged to have 9 bikes. My wife she rides an Indian Scout, which is a beautiful thing. I've got a Chieftain, 2014 Chieftain, fantastic bike. I also have a Springfield, but it is, if we weren't in the situation we're in at the moment with COVID, it would be currently sitting in a showroom at Krazyhorse, and John Ellis has been my man there. You've sold me 2 bikes, and I love that. So you've currently got my Challenger that has arrived today from the US. I got a call from.
So it's all Kev's fault. Is that what you're trying to say?
It's all Kev's fault. It is all Kev's fault. It's not Kev's fault, actually, because it's John Ellis's fault.
Yeah.
But it's and if anybody wants to be sold an Indian, go to John Ellis. I'll tell you, he'll do a good job. But so
Kev is rubbish. He's no good.
No, he's very good. He's very good. I haven't been to the farmhouse yet, and I'm waiting for my invitation, so that'll be good. But I love Krazyhorse. It's a great
You're more than
place,
welcome anytime.
I'll be there. I'll be there as soon as I'm allowed. and it's I go there quite a lot. It's not far from me. It's about an hour away from me. So I spend quite a bit of time. In fact, I've designed a trip just in the last few days, because I think that obviously there are a lot of very frustrated bikers out there who've had to cancel their trips abroad. They it's chaos. We can't even ride. I mean, look at this. This weather is incredible, and we want to be out there. And I am out there. Dare I say it? Because I've volunteered to go and deliver medicines and what have you to the local. I just wanted to get out, and it was a brilliant way to do it. And I kind of, somebody called me a drugs mule the other day, which is kind of a slightly insulting version of what I do. But it's great, and it does mean that I can get out on the bike, and it does mean that I can do some good in this. But so Mad Hatter Motorcycle Adventures has a little halo at the moment. But it's, I can't remember where I was going with that. But yeah, no, I've been designing a trip, because I sense that the UK lockdown will loosen up as far as travel is concerned before perhaps Europe. And so I've just designed this trip to Scotland, and it starts at Krazyhorse, not in the farmhouse, but we will come past the farmhouse on our way back, actually, because it sort of works in a big loop. So kind of both little opportunities to say hi and bring some people to you. But I thought, I mean, it's such a great place to start the trip in Bury St Edmunds with the cafe, and have a big brunch, and then off we go to via Yorkshire and Scotland, and it's fantastic. Awesome. It's a great trip. I did 2,500 miles around Scotland in September, recceing this thing, and it's now a really perfect opportunity. But it's a cool place. But Indians, I'm sorry, go on.
No, carry on.
Yeah, no, I'm loving the whole Indian thing, and actually, I went to Krazyhorse on my Harley, popped into John's little Indian part, and I just fell in love with it. I fell in love with the Springfield, actually.
Funny enough, there's another one in this crowd that shares your passion for them.
Yeah, well, they are fantastic bikes. It's the most incredible. It handles better actually than the Chieftain, dare I say it. At least my 2014 Chieftain, and that's because of obviously the fairing on the front and all of that. But I love my Chieftain because I've had a load of neck operations and stuff, and I can't. And the Springfield just didn't work for me. So in fact, that's a riding position thing. But whereas the Chieftain did, so I love it. And I'm not selling my Chieftain, but I have bought this Challenger, and I'm so excited about that. It's just an amazing machine.
Yeah.
I mean, like you,
Sean.
To ride
one first.
Yeah.
When
you got to ride one first, yeah.
Yeah. Let's just move on a little bit. Daz, I'd like to think that I'm one of the early pioneers for riding Indian motorcycles when they started coming back, because I was one of the first few to actually even jump on a big bike. But I think in terms of pioneering, in terms of supporting, contents and things like that, you're pretty much the man as far as that's concerned. And and obviously, you've set up Indian Motorcycle World, which is great. I mean, I was going through all the bits and pieces recently, and there's quite a big uptake on it. Even in the States and pretty much throughout the world. And you're at the point now where content is coming in from all over the place, and I've been fortunate to be a part of it. So, but perhaps if you can just tell us a little bit about how you got the idea, and I think importantly for everyone out there is, where do you want to see it going in the future?
Yeah, I mean, it's it started just because, I mean, when I started vlogging, there was no one else out there that I actually struggled to actually find anybody who was vlogging about Indian motorcycles. So when I eventually found a handful of decent channels that were creating content about the Indian motorcycles that they owned, I thought I'd approach them and see if we can get some kind of I don't know, just some kind of little group together so we can promote each other, sort of talk, and it's sort of grown from there. Really, it is just a bunch of people who make videos and photos on Instagram, mostly about the YouTube though, about Indian motorcycles. And we've all got different things. I mean, we've got Open Roaded Chris, who's an American in Italy.
Yes.
He's got an Indian Scout. He does a lot of touring. Well, he normally would do under normal situations, but he's got a lot of touring content out there. You've got J Fast, and he does loads of garage stuff. Then you've got the Meatball Rebel. You've got Bearded Bobber. The guys in the States, they just sort of do a mixture of general motor vlogging and also some garage work as well. I don't tend to do the garage work because I'm not very good with a spanner. So I think if I did any content to do with workshop stuff, I'd have to probably hand it over to the guys.
This is the only tool. This is the only tool I can use. Anything else, I'm useless.
Yeah, I mean, for me, where I see it going is, I don't know. It's just a thing. It's a thing for creatives who own an Indian motorcycle and got a passion about the brand, and they want to shout and sing about it. There's no, I don't know, there's no master plan with it. It's just going to evolve naturally. It's one of those things that, I don't want to take over the world with it. It's just anybody's making decent content that people enjoy watching, and it's about Indian motorcycles, then give us a buzz and get in touch, and we'll see if we can get you on board. It is just about fans giving other fans of the brand some more content, and that's all it is.
Yeah, I think sort of your motivation for starting Indian Motorcycle World is pretty much similar, but on the opposite end of the reason why I started doing stuff. Because my motivation wasn't to start doing vlogging. My motivation was I was trying to ride, but ended up not riding because I was always waiting for someone else to ride. And there was never anyone who was actually doing anything. So I thought to myself, well, if I start doing my thing, because I just woke up one morning and that was it. So I'm on the bike and I'm off. I never used social media before. I didn't ever have a Facebook account. In fact, I mean, pretty much anyone or no one has heard of me up until probably late last year. And the reason for that is I just never went onto social media. It was just the case of I was doing my bit, trying to do, and I just, obviously I'd gone through a few things and it's put me in the situation I'm in, which, sort of made me think a little bit differently. And I just wanted people to ride. And that's why I started doing the vlogging and putting some pictures out there. And, I totally get it because, again, it's just like having spent time with you guys, from a creative point of view, and depends on how you get creative. You might get creative with a video. Kev might be with building a bike. Joe planning something, or whatever the case might be. And it's just being able to share that with others and getting people involved in the brand that we love. And I'm totally behind what you're doing. So just on that note as well, anyone watching out there or watching later, please make sure that you go and check out Dazzle Rebel Rides on YouTube. Give him a bit of a subscribe. He definitely deserves your supports. And I'm not sure, Kev, you guys don't have your YouTube. You don't do any of that at the moment, do you?
No, but obviously now we're creating bikes in the workshop and stuff. We'll probably start doing some time-lapse stuff or something like that. Perhaps something a bit interesting for folks to have a look at,
So, make sure, obviously, that you check out Krazyhorse. Go and check out Kev as well. It's actually a good ride when you guys are back on the road. And then also from Joe, you've got some YouTube, don't you?
Well, not that much, actually. I'm not amazingly techie. and I need you guys, actually. I charge
by the hour, by the way.
Yeah.
But I'm available. Rumor has it there's not much to do at the moment, so I've got time on my hands.
You're always welcome on my trips. All you guys are welcome on my trips. I just find it's during the trip, there's so much to think about that I'm, downloading footage to make sure I've got enough space on the, for the next day and blah, 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 blah. And trying to sort of, it's quite a distraction. And yes, I mean, I've got quite a lot of raw footage, but I don't really do. I haven't mastered that yet. And I need, I'm not 12 years old, and therefore I don't, I don't understand technology. So I've got a little nephew who's 12 years old, and he understands everything, and it just freaks me out. But
I've got a tip for you.
That's my bike, by the way, Kev. This is what.
Cool.
Should I talk about this? This is a obviously it's the Red Limited Challenger, but I've got it. John in Bury St Edmunds has just done an amazing thing.
John.
He's poor old John. I hope he watches this.
I'll see what's happened there.
We've married up a dark horse, a dark horse with the red thing. So I've got the black engine and black everything with the red bodywork, and I think it looks amazing personally. And that was just the thing I was trying to sort of figure out. And so I did this mock-up on a bit of stock photographs, and I think it looks great.
I thought perhaps John had been to the seaside this afternoon while it looks at something. Yeah,
I was just going to start moaning about
but we're in East Anglia. We're always at the seaside. Oh dear. It's anyway. That's now. It's in. I guess it's in parts. We've got George. Lovely George is probably taking it apart and taking one apart and putting it onto the other. I don't know. So we'll see how it goes. But it's very exciting.
Yeah. So I've got a very good tip for you, Joe. It's very, very easy to learn how to do videos online for YouTube. Is what you do is you go to your you've got a Mac, so you hit Safari, you enter how to make a video, and you watch lots of videos and make lots of mistakes. You get very frustrated because that's how I had to learn. Honestly, when I started, honestly, like I was saying, I couldn't even use Facebook. My wife had to teach me how to use Instagram. I honestly had absolutely no idea how to do any of it. And I'll tell you what, it was, I'm one of those uber stubborn characters. So once you get the bit between the teeth on something, you just don't let go. And I think that's what happened with me is I just got stuck in. And that's the only way really to learn your style. But
it's Kev, time.
Yeah.
Kev's the man. Kev needs to, Daz, needs to come on one of my trips, and he can do it all. Be very exciting.
Absolutely.
You can create the content.
I think
you come for nothing.
I think Daz has sent me a little message.
Sounds awesome.
Today. He says basically,
great.
if you wanna swap a tour for some lessons, he's keen on that. That works for him.
Yeah, we'll do it. There's something.
Absolutely,
We can do something. And Kev can come to put my bike together because John's. I know.
Thanks, man. So, Kev, man, you're a bit of the dark horse here. And I suppose I think you're a man with some serious skills, especially and reputation, from what I understand, for having being a decent, all-round decent guy, but also a great builder. And obviously, I've heard of some of the stuff that you've done in the past, and I think I've seen some of the creations, or one of the creations in the shop with the paintwork, which was absolutely stunning. But you guys are, I suppose this is my point. I understand you guys are working on some new stuff in the shop. And
obviously, Krazyhorse have had a good history of custom stuff.
Yeah.
I have personally, and now we've finally got the workshop finished at the farmhouse.
Mm-hmm.
We're able to start a few projects and make up some interesting bikes. We've got some of the hooligan sort of flat tracker type bikes underway, some bobbers, and just generally a bit of a twist on the day-to-day Scout thing. But I think, the Scout really lends itself to becoming something interesting. So, I'm totally in my element, leaving the showroom and getting in the workshop and building some bikes,
Now, this is a picture that excites me. This angle in particular, even just having looked at the previous thing, this fender really suits that bike, and I can only imagine, thinking about what's going to happen with some custom exhaust and maybe a change or two on a few bits and pieces. I reckon it's going to look amazing.
Definitely a side plate. Definitely a side plate and some kind of custom exhaust. Not quite sure styling yet.
Yeah.
Quite nicely on this one, the indicators, tail light and stuff are all at the top end of the struts. They're really tiny, about the same size as your thumb, but very bright. So you don't lose all the lines by having to stick all the lights and all the horrible gubbins that you have to put on certain bikes. But like I say, I think the Scout just lends itself to being, it could just look so many good in so many different ways,
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, this is definitely a bike that excites me. And then this seems to going more towards the flat tracker side of things. Am I right, or is that just
that's
an optical illusion?
Yeah, that's the beginnings of a flat tracker. We do the hooligan range, but we're going to do some variations on it with some different wheel sizes and some better tire choices and stuff. And hopefully sort of make some interesting combinations, because let's face it, there's nothing better than turning up somewhere on a bike that nobody else has got one the same,
No, absolutely. Now, this next picture I actually didn't see when I was going through the pictures, but that is awesome paintwork. Please tell me that you did it and you can do my bike next.
No, I'm not really. I'm okay, but I'm not really a demon when it comes to the paint stuff. Really, that's something that we'd farm out to somebody else. But obviously, the building of the bikes isn't the problem. There's just a massive amount of ideas out there, and I think not only a sort of Indian where Harley was 20 years ago when people were interested in customizing them, but I just think Indian kind of lends itself to it way better, really.
Yeah. Well, I mean, obviously, I don't want to just keep humming on about wire ride Indians, but I think the first thing that struck me when I first got onto Indian, which was completely by accident at the time. I was a ZZR man before, so I was on a few of the 1400s. So it's more of a, I call it a sports bike, but because for me it's as small as a sports bike, but others it's probably a slightly bigger bike because of my stature. But for me it's always been about the speed. And I went to a shop in Croydon at Dazzle Motorcycles. It's a Honda dealership, and I wanted to see what deals they had. And I went into the shop and saw a bike, and it was like, wow, that's awesome. And it was a Victory Vegas. And I was like, wow, that's an incredible bike. And just there and then, I actually bought the bike. And I harangued the guys into organising insurance and this, that, and the next thing, got it all teed up. And I actually didn't have a helmet. I had to borrow a helmet and get someone to drive my car home for me. And I bought it there and then. I absolutely fell in love with it. But then I wrote my bike off. And I went to Morespeed to go and see if I could buy another bike. And it was right at the time when Indian decided that they were going to put their weight behind, Polaris going to put their weight behind Indian rather than the Victory brand. And that's when I bought my first Chieftain. And I tell you what, I think the first thing that when I saw it, I wasn't necessarily, I have to have that bike, but there's something more about it. But it's the moment I sat on it, it's like you just feel at home. And it just fitted me, and every time I get on the bike, I absolutely have the massive smile, and I just can't get off of it. It's just amazing, and I think it's pretty much the same thing with most of us Indian guys. I mean, I would probably say, Kev, you I don't want to insult you, but you're probably the least Indian guy here, if I'm not mistaken, because I think you're more of a custom guy. Is that correct?
Absolutely.
Yeah, more of a custom guy.
To be honest with you, I kind of like all sorts. I've got a couple of Buells. I've got to do Catty Dazzle, a couple of older Harleys and stuff.
Yeah.
I am planning on building myself a Scout, probably this coming winter when I've got a bit more time to actually rip it down to nothing.
Yeah.
But it's one of those things. In the past, I've played with more vintage Indians and stuff like that for other people and stuff. But it's one of those things that I've never not really had the opportunity to own one that kind of suited what I like, And yeah, I mean, I like doing the mileage, but I'm the kind of guy that, I rode my Buell down to Austria and Italy and places like that, and totally the wrong bike for touring on, but it's just whatever floats your boat, innit? It's just made me smile, But I can see the appeal in some of the bigger Indians and stuff like that, and bigger touring bikes. But for me personally, I'd rather build myself an interesting Scout that I can have fun on. This is totally unpractical and uncomfortable, and live with the pain.
Yeah.
I mean,
that is the thing. I mean, a lot of the custom bikes tend to be rigid frames, aren't they?
Yeah, they can be. Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't go that far. To be fair, I'm too old for that. But I don't know. It's just something about. It's just something about riding something that's a little bit different, and it just puts a bit of a smile on your face in a different way, And also it's a good talking point. Before, when I've travelled all over Europe and places and stuff, you pull up somewhere and people want to talk about your bikes, and you have a good crack, and you meet new people, and it's great,
Yeah, actually, that brings me on to a good point. Daz, obviously, I'm getting to know you a little bit better, and I haven't seen anything but you working a hell of a lot. So what sort of trips do you like to do, or is it more of a shorter ride that you're really into?
I don't really get a chance to do longer rides, if I'm honest. I'd love to. I was trying to do the whole Sturgis thing this year, but it didn't quite pan out.
I want to go as well.
Reasons, not least the whole COVID-19 BS. But I was really, really sort of hoping to do some decent long rides. But when you work weekends, trying to just get away for a long weekend becomes a little bit difficult, because you have to. It's difficult touring, especially in the UK as well. You can try and plan some time off, and I don't like riding in the wet. I did it for 5 years, so if I've got to go out and ride, especially on my Chief, unless I really, really, really have to, it won't go out in the wet. It just doesn't go out in the wet. I spent 5 years commuting. I only had a bike for 5 years, so I did it in wind, rain, snow, everything. 200-mile round trip every day, and I've had enough of it. So now for me, biking is pleasure. So trying to plan a tour in the UK with our changeable weather is very tricky. So it has to be further away. and then it comes to getting time off work, working out where to go.
Yeah.
And I'll be honest, it is tricky. I need to do it, and I need to put some time in to actually make sure I bloody well get it done. But I keep coming up with excuses, and I need to sort of knock that on the head and say, no more excuses. Go and do it.
You typically tend to, work a hell of a lot, and then also when you do have time, you tend to be creative with your time, and do your music and everything as well, which you believe you write. So you've written the music behind your channel as well and everything?
I sing the theme tune like the theme tune. I write my own theme tune.
There's something for you.
I'm about as tall as Dennis Waterman as well. I'm a musician as well. So if I get time off, I do, because biking used to be a hobby as well as music, but since working in the bike industry as well, it's almost like a busman's holiday sometimes. So now I'm no longer in the music industry at all. My spare time is often made doing music rather than biking. It's one of those things, isn't it? It's ideally we'd have unlimited time in the world, and you'd be able to do everything you want, but you've got to try and fit everything.
So if you've done like no work for the last year, what would you have done with your time?
Oh, Jesus. Well, probably what I'm doing now. I'm finally, after 10 years, get down and record some music so I can get it out there. I've been meaning to do it for 10 years. I've just not had the time to do it. So now I'm furloughed. I've got loads of time.
Yeah.
My house is northwest facing. So in the mornings, I've got an attic studio. I'll go up there. I'll make some music. By the time the sun comes round onto the back garden, that's it. Pint in hand, I'm out the back.
Miracle.
Fantastic.
Joe, just before, I want to ask you another question, but there was a question that came up from the viewers, just for Kev. Kev, if you just take a note of this, mate. Chris, if you just get Kev a message at Krazyhorse Farmhouse, he might be able to look at that for you. Kev, if you just take a note of that, and then Chris will get back to you. Joe, my man. Let's talk a little bit. Let's talk a little bit about some of your bikes.
Yeah,
I've got some pictures here.
Yeah. Well, I'm in the very, very happy position. Well, the first thing I want to say, actually, just before I answer that, I want to join Kev's Daz's band. Okay, I'm a bass player. I'm an old punk rocker. I was in a punk band in 1977. Okay, so I go back a long way. But Daz, I'll do a bit of that. So let's do something. You can go on my trip. We'll record something.
Should we do
Indian thing going on here?
Should we do an Indian band? Because I can play the guitar really shit, and I'm sure if I just rock out with my long hair these days, we'll make it an awesome grunge band.
Funny enough, I play guitar and sing in a band as well, so it must be an Indian thing, you know. In fact, guys, I'll just show you the rest of the room here.
Yeah.
If you look behind me.
Yeah. That's it. He's got it all.
Beautiful.
See,
I'm in the the room I usually get banished to, basically. You know.
I've just seen Dazzle get very upset that he's not singing right now, and he's spending his time wasting it with us.
You can just, if you watch my hand there, that's my JCM 800 bass head.
Awesome.
Like it. Just there above.
So I think what we need to do is we need to get ourselves together and write a Indian song, and then produce it just for ourselves. How's that?
Yeah, man.
Okay, there's a challenge. Here's a challenge. Okay, if you go onto my website, madhattertours.com, you'll see on the homepage there's a little button to play a little video, and there's a great track by a fantastic guy in Australia who plays. I mean, he's just awesome.
No, it's not him.
Yeah, well, it's really good. It's really good. This guy he's just a brilliant bloke, and I met him out there years ago. And he he used to know Bon Scott, you know, from good old AC/DC, and he wrote the song, and I said, could I put it on our website, and he said yes, and so the challenge is, what song do we come up with next? And we could write it. Okay, you heard it here first. Fantastic.
That's it. It's
anyway.
all my idea. I'm going to claim this is my idea, even though it was Dazzle.
Yeah.
Copyright. I've already sent the paperwork off.
So what was your question?
I can't remember. If I'm honest.
What were we talking about?
Let's talk about your bikes. Yeah, I've got some pictures here. Talk us through about some of these pictures.
That's not me. Oh yeah. That's my stepson Tommy on the back.
Yeah.
That's my lovely cheetah. I love this bike. It is just it's 2014. It's one of the. It tells me it's important. I don't know if it is important, but that's my wife on her Scout. It's just fabulous. And the Scout is such a good bike. And I have to say, having sort of come from a Harley background, you know, their thing is obviously, oh, that's a horse. And indeed my wife, just for clarity's sake.
The three favorite things in your life.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it is fantastic. That's called horsepower.
Yeah.
But I mean, you know, the Scout, which is effectively the sort of Sportster equivalent for Indian. The Scout is such a superior machine. It really is. And I mean, I would ride a Scout. I love taking my wife's Scout out for just to chuck around, and it's superb. And we live in Norfolk, and we're all, you know, the country lanes are superb, and it's just a brilliant platform. So what you're doing, Kev, is superb, because it's got everything, isn't it? I mean, it's a powerful machine.
Yeah.
It's got everything, and you can strip it back to nothing and produce, you know, whatever. And it's, you know, I mean, my wife's bike is go back to my wife's bike. Go back to the Scout. I mean, it's got you can't see it, but it's got Vance and Hines pipes. The loudest bike that we own, actually, amongst us. We've got 9 bikes. I'll tell you about them in a minute. And we put the Indian War bonnet on the tank, and it just looks so fabulous. Fantastic thing. She's got a nice little it's got a nice little sheepskin seat on it, and it's the business. It's business, and she loves it. It's great. But I mean, my 9 bikes go from, we got a 1937 Royal Enfield J2, and it is spectacular. If anybody knows what a J2 is and experienced those in 1937, then it's fantastic. It's a beautiful machine.
I wasn't born in the 1700s, so I wouldn't know anything about that.
No, I know. I was, but it's just a fantastic machine. Beautiful. And then the next oldest is a thing that used to be. It's a slight sort of it's a bit of a thing for me. I love this bike. It was owned by Steven Spielberg, of all people, before me. And it's the bike. It's a Ural 650 sidecar combination, ex-Soviet military, and basically Spielberg bought it, and you know, amongst other things, obviously. But it features in virtually every one of his movies where they've got German soldiers and German sort of war stuff. So it was in Captain Corelli's Mandolin, which is brilliant, and it's actually straight off the set, effectively, of that film. And it was in Saving Private Ryan, and famously, if you look at the last few scenes of that, you've got Tom Hanks shooting at the tank. Do you remember? I don't know if you remember that, but it's a brilliant scene, and he's leaning up against this old German, inverted commas, sort of sidecar BMW thing, and it's my bike, and it's very exciting. And there we are. So it's got Tom Hanks' blood splattered all over it, obviously, and various other things, and it's a brilliant thing. But aside from that, we've got the Scout, which is my wife's. We've got the Chieftain. I've got the Springfield, which is currently waiting for, hopefully, Krazyhorse Bury St Edmunds are going to come and pick it up and drop off the Challenger at the same time, but who knows? Haven't yet spoken to John about that. And so that's what. And the Springfield, by the way, is a phenomenal machine. It is incredible handling piece of equipment, and it's probably the best handling bike of any size that I've owned. And it's amazing. I did 5,500 miles around with my wife on the back around Norway, and you couldn't be more tested as a both a rider and a bike to go around those roads around the fields. I mean, you've got 27 hairpin bends going up one thing and 29 hairpin bends, and it's just amazing. It's an incredible part of the world. I recommend it. We have a fantastic trip, obviously. Daz is going to come on that one, I'm sure, and make a really good movie.
I'll have a bit of a tangent there talking about Tom Hanks.
Oh yeah,
I did a job back in 2007 for DHL, and it was basically I had to take this big box of wigs on an ATA carnet, so I had to accompany the wigs from the UK to the States for a film set on Tom Hanks. Trouble was, they tied the flight from Washington to Virginia, which is where the set was, so tight that I missed the connecting flight. No phone, no anything, and I was supposed to go onto the film set and meet Tom Hanks and all of that, but because of that delay, I never got to do it.
No.
Oh my God. Tom Hanks, if you're listening, it's your moment to repair this.
Don't worry, Tom Hanks is an old buddy of mine. He's a subscriber. He follows everything I do. Don't worry, he'll be on to you.
I've got his bike. He's going nowhere without us.
I wouldn't be surprised if I've got a text message from him already saying, "Don't worry, Daz, I'll sort you out."
Yeah.
Kev, just a quick one, man. I'm interested to know a little bit more about you. What is your current bike or favorite bike that you actually own at the moment?
Well, I'll be honest with you. Like I say, I've got a few that I've built up over the years and bought other people's failed projects and stuff. But I'll be honest with you, from a riding perspective, I'm kind of in love with me Ducati Dazzle at the minute because it's just easy to get on with, and you have to fight it to death a bit to get it around bends and stuff like that. But it's just something that I've not had very long, and I'm kind of enjoying owning something a little bit different rather than having Harleys and all the rest of the stuff I've had over the years.
I get the feeling that you're one of those guys that I wouldn't really like, and the main reason for that is because I'm just going to come to your house and I'm going to be jealous. You're probably living on some farm or small holding with a 400,000 square foot warehouse just full of bikes.
With a one-bedroom flat above it. That's it. You got it.
Yeah. With one bed flat on top of it. And it's just bikes everywhere. I really wish I had the skills to be able to do stuff like that. I mean, I'm creative in a lot of ways, but unfortunately, I know what I want looks-wise. I know what I'm looking for, but for me to actually make any changes to the bike, I mean, by the time I've taken the first 3 screws out, I've already lost 2. So I'll just give up on that.
There's nothing wrong with that, man. People like you, I wouldn't have a job if you could all do it. I wouldn't have a job, would I?
Look, to be fair, it's. I'm glad that I've got what I've got, and other people have got their skills, because at least I can imagine certain things, and I can get someone to help me do it. But it's definitely nice to be able to see things like that come to fruition, and especially the metal work. I was just looking at the rear fender on that, so just things like that. I've got like so many ideas of things that I would love to be able to do, but I just don't have any of that kind of skill. And it's really an art, isn't it? And I think, having tried my hand at a few different things, it's quite abstract thinking as well, just in terms of how you approach it. It's like the back to front thinking about how to, what to bend and what to move, and it's a massive plan that goes into it. So
you know what? One of the strange things is in the past when I've been building bikes specifically, I get ideas about what I think is going to work.
Yeah.
And then the bike kind of takes over and it kind of builds itself, because you start putting things together and you look at it and you think, actually that doesn't quite look right, or that needs to be there, or that needs to be a different shape. And they kind of, it clearly is some kind of art ingress in your mind, because the bike kind of takes over and becomes its own thing. So the finished product very rarely looks like what you originally had in your mind.
Yeah, because it just flows, and you've got. Well, you always start with an idea, don't you? And then
absolutely.
The problem is that it's that whole evolution, and I think that makes it into something different. Because I think you probably get to a point where you finish a bike and you think to yourself, you know what? What if I'd done that?
Yeah, of course, yeah, absolutely.
And that's why you have another build, isn't it? Then you say, okay, fine, I'll try something different on another build.
The most difficult thing, to be honest with you, the most difficult thing is building something for somebody else.
Yes.
Because obviously you're trying to interpret what they want, but equally, there's always that part of you inside that may not even agree with what they want and say, you know what, I really don't like the look of that. So you kind of tweak this and do that, and it's really difficult, taking somebody else's ideas and turning that into a creation.
Yeah. Well, it is, because at the end of the day, especially with bikes, I think beauty is in the eye of the beholder.
Absolutely.
Because we love our bikes for different reasons. I think the primary driver behind that is how it makes you feel. And unfortunately, your bike doesn't make somebody else feel the same way your bike makes you feel. And I think that is at least I've still got some left, Daz. You want to say?
That's he's on the JD, I think. I think he's
This is Negroni.
Guys, just so you know, we don't allow plugging on this channel. So I think just also, whilst we're on it now, I think we're going to start wrapping up in a second. I think one of the reasons, and this is for the listeners, why I wanted to get the guys together tonight, is to obviously just show everyone a little bit more of the human side. The people that are out there supporting the bikes and the sports, or recreational activity, or whatever you want to call it, and the brand is particularly that we love, and to say thank you very much. And what I would like to do myself is to ask anyone out there watching is if you could support these guys, it will be really appreciated. So what I'll do is I'll be putting all the details in the description below, with all the contact details for the dealerships, etc. Obviously, Joe from Mad Hatters, his business is essentially stopped now because of what's going on. So when we get back up on the road, please, give him a shout out. Try and help him, even if you don't go on one of his tours. See if you can help him put something else onto it. And the same for Daz. Daz has actually been furloughed now. Daz is probably one of the nicest guys I've ever met. He's always eager to help and there to help other people. And again, a big ambassador for what we do. And so again, give him a sub on the YouTube. Make sure that you check out HBC Motorcycles as well. I believe that the internet site is still active. So if you want to buy anything online, please do reach out to them. And I just think Kev is coming back in the stream. There we go. And
sorry,
then,
guys, press the wrong button.
No worries. And then the same for Krazyhorse. Now, Krazyhorse have got 3 dealerships, Bury St Edmunds, Farmhouse, and one in London. And please do give these guys some support. Now, they're currently still operating and servicing, obviously, I think on a selective basis. So it's not just anyone that can get service.
Just by appointment at the minute.
Exactly. So, and as well,
hopefully they're sorting out my Challenger.
Yeah, as well as the online site. So please make sure that you get in touch with them. And I'm pretty sure that if you get hold of Kev and you say, "Hey, I saw you on Undead Viking Zombies channel," he's going to sneak you a few percent of a little discount there. I'm sure he's going to do that for you.
Absolutely.
He's probably cursing me, deleting my phone number at the moment as we speak. But I personally think, and I don't want to carry on about it too much, but I think it's great that we have guys like this that, you know, even in times like this when it's tough, they're still out there, they're still waiting to support us, still trying to do things for us. And I really appreciate that. And I want to, obviously, from my side, try and show you guys that, you know what, it is appreciated. I know it's a big sacrifice, and after this, we don't know where we're going to be. We don't know how this is going to be affected. But for now, you know, let's try and do what we can to support these guys. Just as a wrap up, next bike or ideal bike. Now, Joe, I'm not going to ask you because you've already answered that, but perhaps like a what do you call it? A dream bike for one day. Any thoughts?
For one day?
Yeah, just for one day, or to own, whatever. Money, no object.
Do you know, there's a bike for me. My answer is there's a bike in Krazyhorse in Bury St Edmunds, and it's a Harley. It's an S&S Harley, and it's a Springer, and it's a knucklehead. It's an S&S knucklehead on it, and that is my bike. And it's way too expensive for me to buy, but I love it, and I have that off their hands like that. It is fantastic. Do you know the one I mean? It's beautiful, beautiful thing. I love that bike.
There's just something about a knuckle engine. Knuckle engines are beautiful anyway.
That's it.
Yeah. I just wish I had the skills. What about you, Daz?
Going away from the Indian brand, and I'd love an old Bruff. I'd absolutely love an old Bruff.
Yeah.
I mean, money-wise, I'd have to win the multi-millions on the Euro Millions in order to get it. Or you know, I would absolutely love an old Bruff. I think they're fantastic machines. The new ones are cool. They're quirky. They're sort of they've got that vibe about them. But an old Bruff. You know what? In fact, I want 3 bikes. I'm not being greedy or anything. I want 3.
Very greedy.
I want an old Bruff, but then I want an original, totally original Vincent Black Shadow because my granddad had one. Sold it when he was absolutely nothing. Didn't realise what he had. But you never do you? But I also want another Vincent Black Shadow, but bobber. I saw one on a biker build off, and it looked beautiful.
Good choice. Good choice.
Yeah.
Nice.
And yourself, Kev?
Well, basically, it's a custom Scout for me next. And as for bikes, well, you know, I've got plenty if I fancy something really different. I'll just build one.
You know, I think you're officially on my black book list. I was going to say a different list, but this is a family show, so I didn't go there. Although you can actually, I've got the fantastic way. I know exactly how you can make up for that, Kev.
Yeah, man.
You've got a little motorcycle in your shop there, and the name starts with an A. And I'm going to come and test ride it for you. I tell you guys, when I went for a ride to Farmhouse, Krazyhorse Farmhouse, I don't know, it's probably about 7 months ago, but it feels like 3 weeks or something. It was, I don't know, it was about a month ago, was it? And I came across.
I think last time you came, it was about 6 weeks, isn't it?
Yeah. And I was walking in the shop, you know, admiring the Challenger as you do, which has been my obsession for a while now. And I was checking out the bikes, and I don't know what happened. I was just looking in the one direction towards the back of the shop, and there was a bike that jumped out at me and just caught my eye. And I was like, "What the hell is that?" And I thought, "Oh, that's an awesome looking bike." Now, I personally, believe it or not, had never heard of the Arch motorcycle. Didn't know what it was. So I didn't go like, oh, you know, that's the fancy Keanu Reeves bike or whatever. I was just like, you know what? I like that. I like that. I like that. I like that. And it was like all the aspects of a bike that I sort of liked. It was put together on a single bike. and it just absolutely works. And I went over to the bike. I thought, oh, that's an arch. I never heard of that. And then I turned the thing around to look at the price, and I was like, okay, step away from the bike. Step away from the bike.
Oh yeah.
So I've had my eye on that bike since. So if you ever come in there and the arch isn't around, it's because I've gotten there early and nicked it.
I think Keanu's coming on one of our trips actually. So
is he? I'll come and see him.
With Tom.
Excellent, guys. So yeah, thank you very much for taking the time. I really appreciate it. So I'm sure the viewers would have enjoyed it, and you guys have got a standing invitation to come back anytime. Obviously, it's great that you've taken the time to come and talk to us, and really appreciate it. Anyway,
it's funny because the pub shut.
Say again.
It's only because the pub shut.
Yeah, I'll tell you what. I'm really enjoying the lockdown, because it's the only time I've actually got friends who talk to me. The rest of the time, everyone's out riding. So
this is good, because we're going to meet up at the farmhouse.
Yeah.
Where Kev is going to give us this amazing breakfast. It's going to be great. We're going to form the band officially. We're going to have our first round. It's going to be great. We're going to knock Captain Tom off the #1 spot. That's all power to him. Yeah, and we're going to be rock and roll.
Yeah, no offense to Tom, but we're going to take him. Anyway, guys, thank you very much. It was a really great evening with you guys. I do appreciate it. And then for the viewers at home, thank you very much for tuning in. Please, as I said, support the boys wherever you can. And until next time, don't ride safe, because you shouldn't be riding. Stay safe, stay at home, and I'll see you next time. Thank you very much.
Take care. Thank you.
Hey guys. Cheers, Sean.